Hi, welcome to this video about my pretty recent move into this rings setup. I'm not abandoning the Hobonichi stuff. My A6 is very much my sort of go-to, always on hand. But I like stationery. I like to experiment with these things, and I thought I'd give it a try, see if it would work for me, see if it's something that maybe would supplement how I work at the moment, or potentially moving forward, maybe replace it. I've been having a lot of thoughts really about how planning is creative for me and how it might aid other areas of creativity. At the minute, the way I'm working, I love how the A6 looks. Very neat and very tidy, and fits an aesthetic that I really like. But I'm not 100% sure if that's all of me. I feel like I have the two wolves inside me. You know, that meme. One of me is very precise and orderly and wants things just so. The other part of me is extremely chaotic and wants lots of colour and vibrancy and silliness. And when I do one and lean into one, I get to a certain point where I crave the other. So that's a little bit of a side point, a little bit of a tangent. The rings. So I did actually film, disclaimer, did actually film me cutting sheets, hole punching everything, laying it all out, and that would have been a nice video, I expect. However, I filmed it on a day where I hadn't had much sleep, and at some point the footage just cuts out. But really today is more, let's see what I've done so far, review, think about how I might move forward in it. So firstly, the case. I really like this sort of bronzy colour on the front. Maybe copper is probably a better way of putting it. Normally, I lean towards silver, although I like gold jewellery. I've never been a rose gold guy, but this is somewhere in between everything, and I like that. The rings in the middle are silver, just as standard. Now, one thing with this, I don't know where it's from originally. I have very limited information on it. So one of the reasons I was willing to give this a go was because it's been relatively inexpensive for me. I would not have gone out and bought a brand new filoxfax. I'm not that into the idea. I'm not that sold on the idea. This was listed on Vinted as a filoxfax, but there's no branding, there's no logo anywhere. I've no idea if it's a genuine one. I did use Google Lens to try and find that out, but nothing came up. There were no results at all. So anyway, I don't know where it's from. I wouldn't be able to link it. So far, I've been using the Uniball pen that came free with my Hobonichi books this year. I like how these feel, and it's really comfortable to write, and I like my handwriting with them. But I'd say these are a bit neglected for me, so it's a space for me to use these. The print-offs I've been using, and I'm pretty much every single thing in here so far, they are from Megan Rhiannon's Patreon. I really like Megan's stuff. You'll have seen her stickers all over the place in terms of my Hobonichi books. So the credit for the layout and how everything looks here is really largely down to her. But I figured I'd flip through everything so far, talk through. There's not masses in here. I literally, where I set it up and where I did all the hole punching and stuff, that was yesterday. And then I spent some time in the evening sat writing some bits up. What I did find really nice about this book, and we'll see how I get on as time goes on, I sat, normally on an evening, I sit with my with my legs across the sofa, across my partner. It's not traditional cuddling, but it still feels cozy. Or I'll have my knees up in front of me because I can't sit like a regular human. And yesterday I sat with my knees up in front of me, and then this was on my lap, and it felt really comfy to write in. I've not really had that with the Hobonichi books. So with what I was saying at the very beginning about making my book or system or whatever you want to call it accessible and easy and facilitating creativity, that sparked something immediately, because I was like, oh, I'm sitting on an evening and this doesn't feel awkward. It doesn't feel as though it's getting in the way. We'll see how I get on. I'm not at the minute looking to replace the Hobonichi books. Maybe in 2025 this could be the answer. But it is only March the 1st, so I really don't need to make a decision on it. So anyway, let's get into it. Firstly, this sort of cover page that Megan recently drew up. I had the Gloomy Kid design at the beginning of my Hobonichi. Well, I still do. Where are they? So I've got that one here with the same quote on the bottom. So it's quite nice that I've got those as a little pair. On this first blank page, and there's a few of these blank pages dotted about just because the way I've printed things, I've put here something I'm calling the Big Life List. This year I'm expecting to see a lot of change in my personal life, and I've taken some big steps to change things really. My Big Life List is almost like a bucket list, but trying to condense it for what could be reasonably achieved within the next few months. So I've got some practical technical things on here. So I want to get to grips better with Procreate, for instance. I do digital drawing on that, but I've just learned as I've gone along. I would not say I'm au fait with it at all. So I want to watch some YouTube videos. I might use Skillshare to develop that. And the same again for Final Cut Pro, which is what I use to edit. For the type of videos I'm making for YouTube and what I'm doing at the moment, that's probably a bit of an overkill, but I like the idea of developing that. So again, I want to learn it. A couple of books to reread, some clothes to sell, volunteering. I want to do that again. So a few bits and pieces here, and I've got plenty of room to add. And one of the things, and I'll touch on it in a little bit later, maybe in more detail, that is very appealing about this is I'm not worrying about how much space I'm taking up with a list, because I can always just add more. Whereas bullet journaling and things like that, I'd always feel like, oh, all right, I've got a page dedicated to this particular topic or collection, but what if I want to write more on it? I would always feel like that. So yeah, it's good to know that more can be added in. There's an index section here. I have some Commonplace pages at the end. I will utilise it for that. But for this, I may just leave it blank. Got a year in overview here. I'm going to put a little dot sticker as each month passes. And in a little bit of a similar way to me sort of paralleling this page with my Gloomy page, here, skipping ahead, here, I've got the dot stickers on each of the months, and I've just done a different colour for the different seasons. So I'll do the same thing again with this, but here I'm doing it kind of as each landmark's been hit instead of having done it all in advance. So next I've got a tracker here for the whole year. There's a few trackers in this setup at the minute, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to use everything for, but I did have the idea last night to track in here days when I'm eating nutritious food. I'm not going to talk about food too much because obviously it's a difficult topic for like a lot of people, but I think this will be a good thing for me to keep an eye on. That's, all that needs saying on that. This page was a blank page, and it sort of screamed out at me as being blank, and I wanted to put something here. I was looking through some of my Commonplace books from the past, and this jumped out at me. I think as well, with a lot of what's going on politically at the minute, this felt really affirmative to have. So this I found on Tumblr, and the original person is a Devin Stirk, and it's 16 transgenders for the modern queer. And it just stood out to me. It's just really wholesome. And then a little love heart sticker from Megan here. So I've got March so far in here. I've put a little bit of tape over these sort of excess days, which were the end of February. I've got tasks in blue. I've got social things in black, and I've got red for a medical appointment. Down the side, I'm going to be tracking things that I track on my daily pages. So if I show you today, so far in my Hobonichi, at the top here, I check off things that I want to make sure I'm doing every single day. So I thought it would be helpful to see at a glance for a month how on top of those things am I. And they're self-care bits and pieces. So that will be handy to have. I've got a little bit of decoration here. I will do more as the month goes on, which tends to be what I do with the Hobonichi as well. So this is just a little flower from Megan. I picked this because it's springtime, and also the purple from it ties in kind of nicely with this ghost washi. And then this is a picture of Stonehenge. I'm not too sure who took it originally. It's one I got off Tumblr. There's a tracker here. Like I said, there's a few trackers in the setup so far. I may well find a purpose for this. If not, maybe it'll be some collage space or something like this. I've got a page divider here. This came with a few more that you'll see as I go along. This came with the planner. It wouldn't have necessarily been the colour I'd have picked, but I'm not mad about it. The only thing is the size of the pages as I've done them, as I've printed them off, means that this tab doesn't actually stick out. It's helpful for me to have a visual still, and I mean I can roughly tell where the dividers are throughout. So I'm keeping them in for now. I might replace them with something else. We've got quite a few postcards and that sort of thing that I think might work nicely, but for the meantime it's absolutely fine. So I'm using this one to demark from the monthly to a weekly spread that I've got here. This has got a common page on the back. I probably won't use it for that, but it's kind of helpful, a bit like I was saying before about taking up space, just to know that I've got a page there if I want to scribble something down quickly, and it's not going to be the end of the world if it looks messy, because it doesn't have a dedicated purpose at the minute. So here's a weekly spread. So one of the things that was making me lean towards the weeks was seeing this spread specifically. I was in the cousin last year and the weeks, and I had plenty of space to plan out a week or to memory keep for the week. I don't have that at the minute, and I have been missing it. So this was the main draw for me. I started setting this up for next week, so that's week commencing the 3rd of March. So same colour coding as on the month spread, red for the medical appointment, black for social stuff, and blue for tasks. We've got a focus point here, life admin and getting into some good habits. I've also got a weekly sort of to-do list here on a post-it note. I actually started this to-do list a few days ago, but the list is ridiculously long. I'm only human. There was no way I was going to get it all done. So I've put it in here temporarily. And then what I will do, potentially on Sunday, maybe on Monday morning, is put those tasks in the columns. And I get the impression what I'll probably end up doing is sort of drawing lots of lines, and this might get quite messy, just to represent the fact that, yes, I've done this thing, or no, I've had to push this back. Now, in the Hobonichi, I do a daily to-do list. So I think this will be sort of planning as an overview of, right, what do I need to get done this week? How am I going to slot that all in? And then this can be kind of a more refined and condensed version. So I've got it as a sort of focal point. So then another sort of commonplace page, another divider, and then we've got some trackers. So in the cousin last year, I used the My 100 page to track new media. And again, that sort of feels like something I'm missing this time around. So I downloaded a few of the different tracker page options. So the first one here is things I've watched. I'm not restricting it this time to new media because frankly, I mostly rewatch stuff and I enjoy existing in that way. So I'm going to be including films and TV shows on this. I've got a few bits and pieces. My partner and I started watching The X-Files a few weeks ago, so I feel like realistically this list isn't going to get much bigger for the next few weeks to a couple of months because there is so much of The X-Files to get through. But as we watch films and things, so, you know, we saw Monty Python at the cinema a few weeks ago with some friends, the films will help bump it up, and then once we finish The X-Files, there'll be more shows. And again, What's really appealing about this setup is if I somehow watch like 2 whole pages worth of films and TV, I can just insert another one. And there's something great about that. On a similar vein, I've got a reading list here. I'm currently reading Unmasking Autism, and it's good, but I think because there's like a revelation every page, it's kind of hard to swallow sometimes. So I'm taking my time with it. I've been reading it since the end of January. Hopefully I'll read it within the next couple of weeks, because I think it'd be nice to read a fiction next. So another page here. If, and I don't think this is going to happen because I love reading, but I'm not a fast reader. If somehow I got through these 2 pages worth of books, I can add in another page. At the beginning of my A6, I've got a to be read list. I used this Turning the Page to a New Year for my to be read list. It's fine, it serves its purpose, but I had envisaged it looking a bit different for some reason. It didn't come off how I wanted it to. So I've replicated that here. I don't know if it'll be a case of I won't bother updating the one in the A6, but it's nice to have them both. The rings is going to be staying at home in my office for the most part, I think, whereas the A6 comes with me absolutely everywhere. So if I do finish a book or I want to add something to that list while I'm in a shop or something, that's there. This is the home version. What I quite like about this is, as well as obviously being able to list everything, there's a column here for format. I don't really read anything digitally, so I've marked this as F for fiction, NF for non-fiction. I've added an asterisk here because this book is fictional, but it's semi-autobiographical. So I just touched on the idea of, finishing the Unmasking Autism book, going to a fiction. So this is just going to be a helpful breakdown for me to think, right, what fiction books have I got outstanding? Right, I'll pick up Rivers of London, or I'll pick up Cleopatra and Frankenstein. And then, rather than the cost here, I'm just going to cross it off once I've read it. And we've got this divider. And then I've got a half page here, and you can see I've got the word key and some stickers. I'm going to review what kind of topics it is that I commonplace. I've got a rough idea in my head, but it'd be good to kind of have a tally and think, right, what are the main things? And then, rather than just treating this as a straight up commonplace section, I'm going to use it for the, I suppose, top tier things, or my main quotes, the main things that really inspire me. I am currently commonplacing in this Hobonichi notebook, and it's in a clear Midori cover. I'm getting on all right with this. I think the more I use it, the more I'll like it. It feels like quite a lot of space, which is helpful when I'm doing things like this, like a skills profile, and I've got quite a few print-offs and things like that. Yeah, quite a lot of paper stuck in here. But when I'm just writing, it just feels really like full on and dense, and it sends my eyes a little bit funny. So what I'll be doing is looking at my old commonplace, looking at this, and if there are quotes that I really want to, I suppose, sort of keep and hang on to and have easier access to, they're going to go in the back of this book, or that's a plan anyway. So I've got quite a few of these printed off, but again, once I've finished, I can always add more. I've got my own little bookmark in here. I really like how this looks in here, actually. I might move it to the front. I've just used it to mark all the spare sheets I've got. So I printed off quite a few in advance so I'd feel a bit more prepped. So I've got a few more monthly spreads here, I've got a few more weekly spreads here, and a few more commonplace pages, I think. Yeah, here's some reading stuff. So they are there, easy to access, because to be honest, I printed everything off, trimmed everything down, and I hole punched everything. And it was a bit of a ball ache, basically. So it's nice to know that I've helped myself out a bit. To be fair, if I'm just doing the 1 or 2 pages at a time, it's not going to be that big a deal. I think it was just because I did so much in one go. But anyway, that is me so far. It is a little bit of a shame that there's not pockets in here, but then I suppose it's going to help me not overpack it at the same time. I do have from Colour Cafe a couple of the sort of transparent pockets coming. So there's a couple of key stickers, and I keep some sort of scrappy bits of paper in here with pictures from the internet on. So I like the idea of keeping a couple of those in here, and then when I am sort of doing the commonplace bits towards the end, where are we? I can quite easily sort of add those in. That looks quite pretty. So this will develop, this will grow naturally. I'm excited, and everything feels very neat and smart at the minute, which is very appealing, of course. So that's that for now. It's strange, I've never been a filoxfax person at all, but it's been interesting the last few weeks, couple of months, seeing how different people utilise them and all the different types of ways of being flexible with it, which is appealing to me. Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling ever so slightly now, so I'll leave it at that. Yeah, that's how we're looking at the moment. So a little bit of chunk, but nothing excessive. Thank you for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.